Did you know that you can use your 3 threads and also create a blanket stitch on your serger? And I'm not talking about just, the plain blanket stitch with regular serger thread. I'm talking about using decorative thread for a heavier stitch. This is what you need to do to set up for a blanket stitch with decorative thread. You're going to use a nylon thread in your loopers. And the reason is that you don't want your thread to break if you happen to stretch this or pull the blanket stitch in any way. Then you're going to put your decorative thread in your left needle to make a nice wide blanket stitch. When you put, this thread on, because it's heavier and you want the blanket stitch to form, is bypass all your tensions. You might want to use the guide just simply, so that the thread's not flopping around. But you can see I haven't even wrapped this around here. I want the least amount of tension on this decorative thread as I can possibly get. For the loopers, you're going to put those up to 9. And if you find that your thread is breaking, you might want to lower that a little bit, but we really need the loopers to pull. The other thing that you're going to do for a blanket stitch is you're going to check your cutting width. If you find that 7 is too wide, then you need to back it down. I usually find about 6 to 6.5 is good, but you're going to want to cut the fabric even just a little bit to allow that stitch to form properly. And the last thing is you're not going to be able to chain off very well because your tensions are so high on top, but that's okay. What you're going to do is just turn your hand wheel a couple of times and let the stitch begin to form. And make sure that you're not jammed up or threaded incorrectly. And you're going to go ahead and use that notch method if you are, making a blanket. In this case, I'm just going to use a little swatch. And I'm going to begin sewing, and I'm going to go at a nice, slow, even pace. I don't want to go too fast, and I'm going to make sure that none of these threads get caught here. And if they do, just take your tweezers and, pull them out. Because sometimes, that happens. Once you get, make sure your threads are not caught, you're going to want to apply just a little bit of pressure on these little chained off threads to make sure that this is pulling a little bit. Just a little, not a lot. And you're going to let the serger do its work at a nice slow clip. Because our tensions are so high, we have to be careful that we're not puckering here, but you can see, when I come to the end here, I'm not going to chain off. I'm going to turn my hand wheel so the needles are in the highest position, and I may have to turn it a little bit with the foot up to just release the threads. And let me show you the blanket stitch. There is our nice decorative blanket stitch, and you can see it's a lot nicer than just using regular serger thread. The reason our tension is so high in the loopers is we really need the loopers to pull this thread to the top on both sides. So there's the back of this, and here's the front of your blanket stitch.